All right, so today we're going through long-term author marketing. We have been walking through our roadmap. We did the manuscript, we did book production, although we sort of held off on actually hitting publish on the book until we had talked about some pieces with the marketing plan and your author website and your freebie and getting some of those pieces set up for the 5-day promotion of the ebook. Then we can go back and hit publish and talked a little bit about the launch, the KPIs that we want to see, downloads, #1 rankings, and reviews. And the launch is fun, right? Like to a certain extent, you set up some things for the launch and you've got 5 days and you're high energy and you're like, I'm bringing it. It's great. And really, especially with our first books, it's like just the whole process is new and exciting. And then pretty quickly, it kind of settles into, oh gosh, this is my new life. Now I have this book out in the world and I need to be talking about it and continuing to market it, even as I'm perhaps writing other books. And so I think that there is a bit of just expectation setting maybe that is really helpful for us to think about. Especially when we're writing our first book, we get really frustrated with the process because we're like, I'm writing this book, but it's on the margins of life and I've got a job and I've got people to take care of and I like to have a social life every now and then and I'm trying to write this book. And so, for anyone who's going to participate in upcoming NaNoWriMo, that's part of the big push. The big sort of impetus for NaNoWriMo is let's expand the margins of life. Let's find every writing session, every hour that we can and see whether it really is possible for us to write 50,000 words. And we're okay doing that for like a short stint. And we can make massive progress that really sort of put us on a trajectory for being able to publish this book. So I love NaNoWriMo. I love the big pushes. I love the sprint writing. I think all of that can be really, really helpful. And it's an interesting experience when you get through the first big push on a book and you've written the book and okay, now we finally finished revising and editing. We've published the book, we've launched the book. And then we kind of come back around and realize, oh, now I have to keep marketing the book. Now I'm an author and I have to keep marketing the book, keep doing all the other things I was doing and start working on the next book, or maybe we had done the sort of rapid release style where we had written several books all at once, prepped them for publication all at once and released them. Still, we're looking at marketing a book and writing books, and we might still have other things going on in life. So it requires us to be a little bit more strategic and efficient and resilient in this process. Amazing. Karen's like, you're speaking straight to me. Casey, amazing. I've written 10,000 words in a week before a few times. I think 12 and a half is doable. It is doable. It does require you sort of like shoving everything else out of the way, not caring about other people's feelings, maybe, eating more easy stuff like ramen or something because you're writing instead of prepping, actual meals, things like that. Not sustainable necessarily, but can really make a huge difference. And so now what we're looking for is if we've gone through the big push and we've gotten the book out and we've gotten it launched and we're now looking at this long-term career as an author, how do we remain resilient, like my cats. That's right. Remain resilient and strategic and efficient in that process. So again, you can print it out if you want. Got our checklist. Also share my screen so we can kind of go through it. Yesterday, we talked through setting up your launch team, your social media profiles, making a few images for social media. You would then hit publish on the book. Definitely refer to the checklist because there's a few order of operations things I didn't hit super hard on, but you upload the paperback and hardback first, order your copies, wait for Amazon to create those sales pages, and then about 10 days before your chosen launch date, that's when you're uploading the ebook, because the ebook doesn't take as long to upload. And as soon as the ebook is uploaded, it starts that 30-day window. We want the launch to happen in the first 30 days of the ebook being live. We will continue to relaunch. So, if we've already launched an ebook and we're going to try to relaunch it, or we launched an ebook the first time and we are relaunching, you still want to go through the same process. It's just, if we have the ability to control the timing, we want to upload the ebook and then do our launch within that first 30 days. So that's a little bit important. I didn't hit super hard on this with Ingram Spark and bookshop.org, but if you want the book to be available for bookstores and libraries, you'll also upload Ingram Spark. So like we talked about in the previous session, you'll upload to KDP first, get your physical books set up over there first, and then separately upload to Ingram Spark with an ISBN. Don't distribute to Amazon, keep it separate. And just use Ingram Spark for your bookstores and your libraries. If you're going to go out to bookstores and libraries, you'll want to also make sure your book is on bookshop.org. Bookshop.org is like the countercultural e-commerce site. Like, it's counter Amazon. It is attempting to give readers a place to buy books that's not Amazon. And so they, support the local independent bookstore area. I've talked directly with bookshop.org, and I think they're doing a lot of things that are great, and I think they could improve some things. So for instance, this is what it looks like. It's just an e-commerce store. And so you can, as a reader, this is really fun because you can go and buy, a book if you want to. I mean, it's going to be more expensive than Amazon, but the whole point is to that some of the proceeds go to local bookstores. So readers can order books online, but they go to local bookstores. I just think from an author's perspective, it's not super enticing because there's no reviews on the books really. They allow professional reviews, but they don't allow reader reviews. And so let me just see if there was, I don't know these books. These are all, oh no, this is available. It was published October 10th, so it is available. So some of these, like the new releases, they're only selling the hardcover. You can't get the ebook or the paperback. They don't allow reader reviews. So as an author, I don't know, I'm not going to push a whole bunch of people to my bookshop.org page. I think I am on bookshop.org, but the only reason you would really benefit from bookshop.org is because bookstores and libraries want to see that you're on this website. And when you set up through Ingram Spark and you set up bookshop.org, when you go to your local Barnes & Noble and say, hey, I'd love to do an event here, or go to your local, tattered cover or whatever your bookstore is, they're going to look at your book and they'll want to see that you're on bookshop.org, and they'll want to see that they can order your book through Ingram Spark. If those two things are true, then maybe they'll order 30 copies or 40 copies or 50 copies, and you can do an event there. And that's very fun. So that's a little background for that to-do item. We talked about our Amazon optimized launch promotion in our previous session, and we're looking at, downloads and sales daily, rankings and reviews, and celebrating, really the launch of that book. So what happens after those 5 days? What do we do to continue to promote our book? And I have some specific to-dos for you here that I'll kind of run through, but then I want to give us a wider lens kind of context. So some specific things that you can start to do right away is look at your book awards that your book is eligible for and start submitting for those book awards. If the submission is not open yet, then put it on your calendar to submit when it does open. The reason I like book awards is because if you don't win, you might still get a professional review. So they might offer a few sentences about what they liked about your book, even if you're not an actual category winner. You can take that review, put it on your Amazon page, your website, your any of your other promotional materials. So that's great in and of itself. Also, if you are one of the finalists or one of the winners, they will email out the results of the contest. And so your book is now being featured to a whole bunch of folks who are on the book awards email list and maybe social media as well. So you're getting eyeballs by participating in these book awards. So I mean, pros and cons. It's a little bit funny that you have to like pay $10 or $30 or whatever to be even submitted into the book award. So obviously they're just kind of making money, but they're putting you, if your book does well, they're putting you in front of thousands or tens of thousands of readers. So, a little bit like a lottery there. But if you do get a professional review or an award out of it, you can use that for a very, very long time. Then you become, an award-winning author, and your series becomes an award-winning series. And so you really get to juice that orange for a very long time. Research 20 platforms. I mean, that's a starting point, but I got to give you a starting point number, at least 20 platforms that might be interested in your book. Think about podcasts who might interview you as the author or review your book. So there are like book review shows, like Book Riot is a very famous podcast show that just reviews books. So you might be able to send them, a free review copy, and they might consider doing a show on it. YouTube has the same thing. It's just video interviews typically. So they might interview you as the author. They might choose to review your book on like a review show. Sue, we do have, don't worry, you're hooked in with us. We'll help you figure out the book awards. So for all of these, when we're researching, Sue was just asking, is there like a centralized place where we can look at all of the options? There really isn't, unfortunately. It's a lot of Googling and just, typing away, looking at different options, keeping a list. And so for all of these book awards, we just end up Googling and seeing which ones are still active, because sometimes they fall off and they are no longer receiving submissions. Sometimes new ones come up. So if there's a new one, you want to know about it, right? And so you might not know that unless you're Googling to find out. There are some long-standing ones. Reader's Favorite has a ton of categories and a very long-standing award. And then podcasts and YouTube and these sorts of things that we're researching also is very genre specific, market specific. So we do have to do some digging, right? Awesome. Yeah, Pearl dropped one for children's literature. So yeah, you can ask other authors too, if they have submitted for any awards or been interviewed or had their book reviewed by anyone. And so a lot of this is Google research, for better or for worse. ChatGPT can be mildly helpful, but it doesn't always catch the newer stuff. So a lot of times it is just looking around, just getting to know, going and finding podcasts and listening to them and seeing if they're your kind of people or not. YouTube, there's a bunch of YouTube book review shows, blogs, that's going to be Googling to find the relevant blogs. TikTok, we did a little bit of a preview yesterday of TikTok. And I will admit, I have only recently kind of I haven't even jumped on the TikTok bandwagon per se, so much as I feel like I'm walking next to the TikTok bandwagon, and I'm like, okay, yeah, you're doing some interesting things. It's been much more longstanding than I thought it would. TikTok has been influencing the book world for about 18 months, pretty significantly. So this is the Publisher Weekly trade magazine that goes out to all, like everyone who's in the publishing industry. Every single week, there's something about a book that is getting movement because of TikTok book reviews. So yeah, and Vanessa's like, I actually enjoy book talk. Stop slamming book talk, Morgan. Just kidding. Vanessa did not say that. She just very nicely just said that she actually likes book talk on TikTok. So yeah, exactly. Walking next to it, not jumped on. Yeah, that's kind of where I am right now. But we should keep an eye on it, because there's some interesting folks who are really moving and shaking on TikTok. And it used to be just YA romance, but it has begun to expand in a lot of ways. So we have some authors like Kevin Cullen is a memoirist, and he writes more about kind of like why am I struggling with words right now? It's because I've only had this much of my coffee. But he has some stories from like veteran days and just growing up in America and how much life has changed, and kind of, retrospective of American culture and social commentary kind of stuff. and he has had amazing connections on TikTok, so people are getting interested in it from sort of a variety of demographics. So just something to think about. Thank you, Anna. Yeah, it is Friday. This is very geeky. Oh, that's what I should post in Circle. I have a little spreadsheet. It's nothing magical. It's just a spreadsheet. However, I will give you a spreadsheet that we pass to authors to keep track of the different research that you're doing. And I know spreadsheets are geeky, but they're just really helpful. And even if it's not a spreadsheet, even if it's like I've got post-it notes that I'm going to put on my bulletin board and keep track of them that way. It's just a way to recenter your attention on what your priorities are, so that when you're getting onto these platforms, when you're logging on to TikTok or to YouTube or listening to podcasts, it's very easy to get sucked into their agenda and what they want to show you. We just want to stay centered on, I'm here on purpose. I'm here for a reason. I'm here to find 20 people who might have a podcast that would overlap with my book, my readership. I'm looking for 20 YouTubers who might have an audience that overlaps with my readership. I'm looking for 20 blogs. I'm looking for 20 TikTokers, right? And so just stay really focused on that. And then when you have at least 20, when you return to these platforms, if you're looking for, did they release a new episode? Do they release a new video? Do they release a new blog review? You can go back to the same 20 and you can find them again. So whether you want to use a spreadsheet or a list or bookmarks or whatever system of organization works for you, it's great. I'll post a super simple spreadsheet that we recommend folks use. Press kit. There's the reason I sort of paused is there's kind of two different variations of a press kit that you might put together. And one would be for actual looking for interviews. And one might be what's called a sell sheet, where you take it to a bookstore and say, would you like to buy my book? Here's the information that would be relevant to you deciding to buy my book. So I probably should have looked at this. Here is Morgan scanning through Canva, looking for an example, which you probably should have pulled earlier. So for instance, I believe this is a sell sheet. So this is a sell sheet that's for bookstores, right? So you could take this to bookstores and to libraries, and it has the book cover, it has contact details, it has a description of the book, the author, and then purchasing details. And so notice right here that we've got that this is, available Ingram Spark, Amazon. We've got the ISBNs and the retail price, and the ISBN. The bookstore can just type in the ISBN to their system and order those directly. So that's what they need to know to order the books. So that's a sell sheet. So you're taking that to bookstores and to libraries, which is a little bit different than a press kit. I should have pulled up an example of a press kit. I know we have some. A press kit might emphasize more like discussion questions that the interviewer or reviewer might want to dive into. So this is a press kit. I think this might be for a nonfiction book technically. But this would have, your author name and a little bit about your bio, your background. And yes, the book, but also the audience, because when you're approaching someone with a press kit, it's because they have a show. They have a podcast, they have a YouTube show, they have maybe they do Instagram lives, maybe they have an actual TV show, right? But they have a show, and anyone who has a show knows their audience, right? And so they want to make sure any guest that they bring onto their show is going to match their audience. And then we provide some interview questions, some speaking topics, but for fiction, and actually Jenna's book is a novel inspired by true events. So she's doing like a novel with the purpose of encouraging teenagers and she has a methodology around aggressive optimism, and you know, so her sort of straddles the line between fiction, nonfiction, but specifically for fiction, which is kind of what we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks in preparation for NaNoWriMo. You would talk about like interview questions more about the writing process, the world building, the history, the characters. You might have themes that the book explores, and so you might go ahead and tell the host, you know, what themes there are. Maybe there's certain, you know, dynamics between the characters' relationships that are present throughout the story arc. Maybe there's, you know, instead of good versus evil, there's a lot of gray area and morality in the book, and that's on purpose. And so you use these sections, kind of questions and topics or themes, to give the host an idea of what a conversation might look like, to give them a preview of what you might talk about or what a book review might look like. And so I'll post links to both of these as well. This is a press kit that would go out to someone who has a show and you want to be a guest on the show. Maybe they interview you, or maybe you're sending them a review copy and they're going to review the book. So hopefully that's helpful to see those different options. So you might want to consider creating a sell sheet press kit to send out to people. And then you want to start reaching out to people. So it's like, okay, we did the research, we got our list. We have, you know, we've prepped some conversations, some notes for the person who has a show. And then we want to reach out to them. Maybe it's an email, maybe it's a direct message, maybe it's, you know, commenting on something that they've posted. But you want to reach out to them, and most people don't respond to the first reach out. Or I shouldn't say most. Many people don't respond to the first reach out. It's not because they're not interested. It's literally just the constant multitasking that our brain is going through when we're in our inboxes or in our messages, because we're getting pinged constantly while we're trying to respond to messages, and we just forget, right? Like we just get our attention dragged somewhere else and forget to come back to it. So feel free to reach out multiple times. I would encourage you to reach out multiple times to people. And as you get any new awards or endorsements or reviews or coverage or whatever it is, remember to keep adding those to your Amazon sales page. In fact, you can open up, does Doug have one yet? I don't know if we did it for Doug's yet. I still need to add a couple of things. I know someone does. It's the editorial reviews section. Some of y'all may have seen it. You'll see it when you're scanning the bookstore. There's a section that you can activate. So you actually activate it through Amazon Author Central. And so this is A+ content. A+ content happens through KDP. That's where you toggle it on. But reviews, we still need to turn those on. Editorial reviews happen, I think Terry P's turned hers on. Oh, we got to turn these on. I know who's Murdoch's. He has some cool A+ content too. Here we go. All righty. So Wayne has both A+ content. So for his A+ content, he has this is just a template inside of Amazon. Like this is, he uploaded the images and he put in the text, but this is a standard option in Amazon to turn this on. And so he's used it to talk about his different characters. So that's a cool little type of A+ content that you can use. You only get one, unfortunately. So you get to pick kind of one image to put right here. And there's a few different options on which image you use, but you can create them through Canva, like we talked about in the previous session. And then right under it is editorial reviews. So you can turn this on, you can toggle this on inside of Author Central, Amazon Author Central, and then you get to put these in yourself. And, you know, technically this section is for professional reviews. Like he's got one from Book Life by Publishers Weekly. He's got one from Kirkus. And you know what? You can actually put anything you want here. Amazon does not patrol the reviews section. So we definitely put like, you know, reviews from, like, if someone was not able to post an Amazon review, there's weird parameters. Like you have to, in order for a reader to post an Amazon review, you have to have spent $50 on the Amazon platform. For most of us, that's not a problem, but for some of us, we don't use Amazon. And so, you know, we will have the reviewer, the reader sent it in their review via email, and then we just copy and paste it right here. We just put their name on it. You can also, I've seen people just come in and grab, you know, quotes from some of their favorite Amazon reviews, just grab a line, you know, especially if they have their name right here, you can just copy and paste it and highlight it right here in your editorial reviews section. And so now, you know, it's even more visible. So as you get any awards or reviews or nice endorsements or blurbs or messages from readers, you can actually put them right here on your editorial review section of your Amazon page. You can put them on your website, you can put them on your social media. So, you know, as these things come in, you just want to make sure that you're still updating all of your pages. I like to make sure that we're updating the Amazon page because we're still sending everyone back to Amazon to buy the book, right? Yeah, this is for self-published books. Everything that we do is for self-published books. So some of these used to be only for traditionally published books, like the images used to be just for the traditional publishers, but they have in the last, I don't know, year, something like that, they've sort of quote unquote turned them on, made them available to anyone who's using the KDP platform. So that is great. Those are two that you want to keep updated as much as possible. Even your About the Author, if you get to go to a cool conference or receive an award or something like that, you can also talk about it in your About the Author section. So yeah, we want to keep those updated. And then there's a checkbox here that says set up your next quarterly relaunch. So we talked in our previous session about if your book is inside of the KDP Select program, then you can set your Kindle price to be $0 5 days out of every 90 days. So in fact, let me see if I can, this is a little bit dangerous. Let's see if I can log in while sharing my screen. Oh, yay, I'm still logged in. Okay. So I can KDP Select info. Where does that take me? Oh, okay. Yeah, that just tells me that I am enrolled. So you want to be enrolled in KDP Select. I recommend that at least keep your first book enrolled in KDP Select and use this advantage of being able to set your ebook for free every 90 days. And the reason I like setting the ebook for free every 90 days, there's several reasons, but one is Amazon automatically crawls through your book sales page and shows it to more people while it's free. Amazon uses that period as a testing period to see if it can get more readers onto your book. Number two, it provides me a reason to maybe not every 90 days, but maybe every once in a while, I'll send out an email to my list and saying, hey, my ebook is free. If you haven't got a copy, now's your chance. Or if you want to share it with someone, send them the link. And it's just a nice little give to my audience, to my platform. And hey, the ebook's free. Come grab a copy. And they might leave a review, right? They might join my email list. They might leave a review. And so I think that's a really good opportunity. And then it helps you to hit those number ones in those categories again. So pretty much once we've hit number one in those categories the first time, a relaunch, even a very low key relaunch, where literally all we're doing is setting the ebook for free for 5 days. Usually we're going to hit those number ones again, and it reinforces in the metadata of that algorithm that yes, this book does well in these categories, and that helps the algorithm to show the book, in those browsing bars in relevant categories. So we do. It's really simple to do, because I'm just in my KDP account. I click free book promotion, create a new free book promotion, and then I select the 5 days. And so I can pick those 5 days. In fact, I'm just going to do it right now. Thanksgiving is the 24th. So that's Black Friday. Sorry, Thanksgiving is the 23rd. 24th is Black Friday. So people are going to get their Amazon gift purchases around then. We've got Cyber Monday on the 27th. So I'm going to set mine for November 28th through December 2nd. Ta-da! Done. So do that every 90 days. And that will help bring the Amazon traffic back through your book using those keywords and those categories that we already set up. And continue long-term marketing until the end of time. I did also pull together another resource for you. Oh, Jan says, if you're on KDP Select, can you still have it on other platforms as well? So KDP Select means that the ebook is exclusive on Amazon, meaning you're not selling the ebook on iBooks or Kobo or Google Play. But Amazon has more than 90% of ebook sales. So I kind of don't care about iBooks or Kobo or Google Play. As a new author, right? I mean, as a new author, I don't have a big following. I don't have a big audience. Like, I just need eyeballs. And I think this is the most efficient way to get eyeballs. So as you have more and more books, sure, go wide, is the term that people will use, go wide. Like Joanna Penn talks about this all the time. She's a huge proponent of going wide. She has like 30 books. Of course she's going to go wide, But I would say that for those of us who are just starting and really trying to grow our readership, we need eyeballs. And we can use Amazon to get a lot of eyeballs. And maybe it's just your very first book that you leave in KDP Select, and then maybe your other books you take wide, totally fine. Your paperbacks and your hardbacks can go anywhere. There's no restriction on your paperback and hardback. This KDP is specifically about the ebook. I also think that there's some wiggle room with the PDF. So for instance, when we're working with folks who are going to use a different funnel for distributing their PDF, I think the PDF is fair game because technically the PDF is a print file. It is not a native file to Kindle or to an e-reader. So I think your PDF can go anywhere. And when you read the terms and conditions for KDP Select, it doesn't specify. It doesn't specify a file type or anything like that. So I think it would be overreaching for Amazon to say you can't distribute the PDF, because is that really an ebook or is it a print file? So I'm a little bit on the gray area there. I would go and I would argue with Amazon in a court of law that a PDF is not an ebook. People have different feelings about that. So I leave my ebook in KDP Select because I only have one book. That's where I get a lot of visibility. And then your paperback and hardback can go anywhere. And I would argue your PDF can go anywhere as well. But I've never been in a court of law with Amazon about that. Okay, so that's kind of like these are what I would recommend as your top priorities for long-term marketing. And in addition to just doing stuff, I think it's helpful to have in mind why we're doing these things. So you'll notice sorry, I'm clicking around a lot. You'll notice in our circle area, you get to this area by going to paperhavenbooks.com/nano-resources. And, I don't think I put this in the chat yet. Let me put it in the chat. That brings you to this page, and you'll notice I dropped a document. And the document is really about goal setting, long-term marketing as an author, and creating SMART goals. And maybe you'll remember back to when we very first started these sessions together, which was like 2 weeks ago, and it feels like an eternity ago. We talked about the book idea decision matrix. We talked about what is this book going to make possible for me. We really want to revisit that now. Like, what do I want from this book? What am I trying to achieve by publishing and launching and marketing this book? Oh, Jan says, why would you distribute the PDF? Like in a book funnel, like if I'm selling, like you can give away the PDF for free, you can sell the PDF for free. It's a lead generation or tripwire kind of funnel, but that's a marketing discussion that's a little separate, right? A little like we'll get our foundation set, and then that's kind of advanced marketing. But you could use the PDF for lead generation or a low priced sort of tripwire and sell it directly from your website. So what do I want from this book? And maybe it is specifically book sales. Maybe it is growing a readership because I'm going to continue writing books. Maybe it is sort of starting a movement. Maybe I want this book to get into schools. I want to do speaking events at schools, or, for big companies, or for small groups of women or refugees or entrepreneurs, or whatever my group is. Maybe I want to bring in clients for my business. Since we're focused on the fiction side of writing, for many of us, it really is about gaining that readership. And I would suggest maybe even the social proof for your books. So it might be things like awards, or professional book reviews, or reviews from readers, or reviews from influencers in your space, right? And so we want to think about, what would success look like? And we may have to make some choices. For instance, is it only about making money from the book, or am I actually willing to give away a number of free copies of my book in order to get the social proof that I really want, the awards, the reviews for my book? So you've probably heard of this framework before. It's called the SMART goal framework. S, it's an acronym. S stands for specific. What do you want specifically? And choose a goal, like a singular goal. If I was going for a singular goal, what is that goal? It should be measurable. You should be able to put a number to it. A stands for achievable. You should know whether you achieved the goal or not. R stands for relevant. Like, in what way is this relevant to my overall life desires? What I want my life to look like. T is time bound. You want to put a time on it just to help you focus. And then we have this little graph here, and you might think about 5 years. What do you want to achieve? And maybe you pull that in. Maybe it's what do you want to achieve over the next year? Maybe it's what you want to achieve over the next quarter. Put a timing on it, and you can create as many SMART goals as you want, but just realize that the more goals you create, the more difficult it is going to be to stay focused and intentional around those goals. So, what is it? We have some examples here. Maybe your first goal is, I want to have 1,000 downloads of my book during my 5-day launch. Maybe a next goal is, I want to collect 100 reviews of my book in the first 90 days after my launch. You can imagine if you set that goal, specific, 100 reviews is specific and measurable. And, is it relevant? Yes, I want the social proof on my books, and it's time bound. It's 90 days, right? So when you set that goal and you say it out loud, and maybe you write it and post it somewhere to remember, it starts to focus your attention. It's like, okay, 100 reviews in the first 90 days. What am I going to have to do to get 100 reviews? Well, let me see, how many people do I have on my book launch team? How many of them left reviews, and how many of them haven't left a review yet? Should I reach out to them? Maybe I'm willing to give away some review copies to folks if they're willing to come back and leave a review. Maybe I'll do some swaps with other authors. I'll review your book, you review my book, and we'll both get some reviews. Maybe we're willing to, give that ebook away for free again to try to get some more reviews. Maybe we're, willing to, when we go to, who was it? Oh yeah, John said, I'll be participating in a crafts fair, and I'll have a table to display my books. Maybe if John had this goal and he was like, I want 100 reviews on my book, he might be willing to ask everyone, hey, would you mind, here, yes, as you're buying a copy of the book, and would you mind leaving a review on Amazon? Maybe you say that out loud more often because you know how many reviews you want on your book after launch, right? So just using that as an example of the power of saying it out loud exactly what you want can really focus your actions that you're taking. Maybe it's, I want to publish and launch all 3 of my books in my series in the next year. Maybe it's, I want to acquire 3 endorsements of my book from leaders in my industry in the next 6 months. You can start to feel that would pull you in a slightly different direction. That would be like, okay, 3 endorsements from influencers. Let me get together a list of influencers. Let me see if I can contact them, mail them a copy of my book, and then follow up with them to see if I can get that endorsement or that praise blurb, right? This would be more for nonfiction probably, but I want to add 5 new clients in my roster in the next quarter, so that becomes, well, how can I get my book into more people's hands and follow up with them and see if they're interested in working with me in this methodology that I outlined in my book, right? Also, I wanted to introduce the idea of SWOT analysis for strategic planning. Oh, Chris had a thought. Is it better to have input goals, words written, or output goals, number of sales? Yeah, we talked the other day about lead measures and lag, or lead indicators and lag indicators. Input goals, I mean, you might need both, right? In order to achieve this outcome, you might have both input goals and the outcomes, right? So if you set this goal, you might think about, well, what actions am I going to make sure I'm taking in order to maximize the chance that I achieve this goal? And it depends a little bit on where you are in the process. So, Chris, your example of like words written, that's absolutely a goal that you need, like a leading indicator that you need to be keeping track of. If your goal is to write a book, yes, you can just focus on writing the book. However, it will be easier to track your success toward that goal if you're also keeping track of how many words you're writing. Number of sales, yes, you want to maybe say, I want 1,000 sales, but you're also going to want to think about, well, what am I doing to get those 1,000 sales? Am I running a promotion? Am I, like we talked about yesterday, reaching out to these paid promotion partners, reaching out to these influencers, going to a live event, going to a bookstore? You're going to have both, right? You're going to know what I want to achieve, and you're going to be thinking about that. That should prompt, what are the specific actions I'm going to take to input to achieve that goal? And I wanted to introduce this idea of a SWOT analysis because we don't have to all go about achieving these goals in the same way. So even if we all want 100 reviews on our book, we don't necessarily have to have the exact same inputs or the exact same strategies to achieve that goal. So SWOT is another acronym. S, start with your strengths. What are you really good at? Do you love being interviewed, or is that not your favorite? Do you love going to live events and being around people and, at fairs and conferences and conventions and bookstores? Maybe that's your thing. Do you love making videos and, writing posts and that more content creation side? Like, where do your strengths lie? Weaknesses. What do you really dislike doing? Do you really dislike talking to people? Maybe podcast interviews are not going to be your favorite, right? And that's okay. You don't have to, right? What are some opportunities? That's the O, opportunities. What are some opportunities that you already have in your life? And I have a special challenge for you in this section. Make a list of 50 people that you know in life. Because most of us discount the relationships we already have. We almost don't even know who we are connected to in a lot of ways. If you just list out 50 people who are in your phone or you're connected to in some way, you might be surprised at the connections or the associations that you suddenly realize. Oh, I had that teacher in high school who actually is, a board member of this, that, or the other organization. I wonder if they would, partner with me in a live event. But you might not realize that until you see their name listed out. So 50 people. I know it's a lot of people. And it might not be people that you have maybe you don't have their phone number, maybe you haven't talked to them in a while, but you remember them from, school or a work organization or a church or a community or a soccer team or a kids, one of your kids' parents, kids, friends, parents, you're your kid's parent. Someone who would have been an acquaintance. Maybe you don't have a direct contact with them, but you might be able to get a direct contact with them because of, who your common associations. And then the last one's threats. So a circumstance or condition that has the potential to cause problems. And so, maybe it's as simple as I don't have regular access to the internet, or I'm not great at technology, or maybe it's like, I have a health condition where I'm not going to be able to do a lot of live events back to back, or maybe it's, whatever it is in your life, the thing that you're worried about that you think might impede your progress, right? And so we can actually list these out. We can list out our top 3 strengths, our top 3 weaknesses, our top 3 opportunities, our top 3 threats. And that helps us to sort of look at what are my personal parameters? What am I most likely? What are the best sort of uses of my time and energy and resources? And you get to pick, right? This is choose your own adventure. If some of the things that I have suggested sound terrible, you don't have to do them, right? There's one of the a pretty well-known author, Lindsay Buroker, is I don't even know how, she's definitely a 6-figure earning author, like 6 figures a year in book sales. She hosted a podcast for a while, but eventually she realized that she didn't like talking to people that much. And so she just shut her podcast down, right? And so you could argue like, well, was her having a podcast part of what got her the initial readership? Maybe. There may be things that we're willing to do for a season, but not willing to do long-term. And so this is your opportunity to have that reflective conversation with yourself. What am I willing to do? What am I willing to input in order to get that output, that achievable result that I really want? And then kind of a last centering encouragement for us is I would recommend that we seek incremental gains. Let me zoom in on this just a little bit so you can see it better. So there is an interesting cultural phenomenon where we assume that if a book is going to do well, it will launch really well, become an instant bestseller, and forever sell like hotcakes. I don't know why we think that's how books work. It's probably because of the way that traditional publishing has worked, where they will, rough numbers, they will publish 100 books. They will expect 1 or 2 of them to do well. And so, 1 or 2 of 100 books will launch well and will sell well for some months or maybe even some years. And so we think, well, if my book is going to do well, that is how its trajectory will play out. And yet that's not how most books play out. Even books that sell well over the long term, that's not necessarily what their path looks like. What I have seen much more commonly, and this is what I would recommend that we sort of, again, setting expectations, what is more normal really is something that looks a little bit like a spike and a settle down, and a spike and a settle down, and a spike and a settle down. And we are the ones who are bringing the spikes. So a launch in basic terms is just bringing a lot of attention, eyeballs, visibility, energy to a brand new product. A book is a brand new product. And when you stop bringing that same amount of energy, it will probably settle down into kind of a new baseline. And we have the opportunity to initiate another promotion, right? Another round of excitement and visibility and eyeballs and energy. And when we do, yes, it will settle down, but typically it will settle down on a new baseline that's a little bit higher than it was before. So what I see much more commonly, this is true of my book, this is true of the books that we have worked on at Paper Raven Books, is we have a promotion, it settles down at a baseline. We have a promotion, it settles down at a baseline that's a little higher. So maybe at first we're selling a few books a month. And then after a few promotions, we're selling a few dozen books a week, or a few books a week, or dozens of books a month. We settle again, and maybe we're getting up to, books every day. And then we do more promotions. And as it's coming back down, then we're getting to, dozens of books every day. And that adds up, right? Or maybe we're getting to hundreds of books a week, right? And so it will happen over time. I realized I was using a lot of mixing back and forth between per day, per week, per month. But the general idea is that as it comes back down, it's settling at a slightly higher number. And the good news for us, if we are thinking about more than one book, is that the momentum or the baseline of one book will help to set the baseline of the next book. So we're gonna do a lot of pushing and promoting and launching of the first book, and that will actually help the next book to start at a higher baseline. So all that promotional effort that we do with the first book is going to help subsequent books as well. So I recommend, like I said earlier, you set that ebook for free every 90 days in the Amazon bookstore and use that time to do another promotion. Why not? In addition to Amazon, where else can we think about connecting with readers and perhaps influencers in your space? Oh, sorry. Your own platform. Over time, you will be building your own platform. You'll be growing your own email list. You will be growing your own. Did I not do the right document? I'll make sure I've got the right document in there for you. Social media. You got your Facebook, your Instagram, your TikTok, your Twitter. Maybe you decide to create your own podcast, your own YouTube channel, your own blog. Maybe you decide to host your own live events, right? These are your platforms. These are things within your locus of control. These are direct connections with your audience. You will be growing these over time. Also, keep in mind that you can be featured on other people's platforms, which can be a much quicker way to get in front of a lot of folks. So other people's platforms, you get in front of with book awards, podcast interview shows or book review shows, YouTube interview shows or book review shows, blog book reviews, TikTok book reviews, live events, right? You're being featured as a guest or an expert. Expert's kind of the wrong word for fiction. That's more nonfiction, but you're being highlighted, spotlighted on someone else's platform. So you want to kind of keep your eye on both. You want to be thinking about, if I'm going to get my 100 reviews or my X number of sales, where's that going to come from? Is it from building my own platform? Is it from being featured on other people's platforms? You may even develop goals around the size of your platform. You may decide, I want to get, 1,000 people on my email list. I may want to get my, Instagram following up to 2,000 people, right? And so you may develop other goals like that are not just book sales, but become more of a platform build. And remember, we're creating this ecosystem where everything feeds everything else. So as you sell more books, people are joining your email list. As they're joining your email list, you can direct them to your Instagram profile, right? As you grow your Instagram, they're going to see your book. They're going to go check out your book. Inside your book, they can join your email list. So we're creating a system where everything grows everything else. The rising tides lift all the boats. And that's why we've been walking through this checklist in kind of an order of operations to make sure that we've got all of our foundational pieces in place. And the last bit I want to leave you with is one of my favorite quotes from John Wooden. I actually first heard this quote from Ryan Levesque, who's been a mentor of mine for many years. And the quote goes like this: "When you improve a little each day, eventually big things occur. When you improve conditioning a little each day, eventually you have a big improvement in conditioning." The basketball coach. Not tomorrow, not the next day, but eventually a big gain is made. Don't look for the big, quick improvement. Seek the small improvement one day at a time. That's the only way it happens. And when it happens, it lasts. I think this is a great way to center our attention around book marketing, is incremental improvements, continuing to promote the book, continuing to grow our email list, to grow our platform, to reach out to influencers. And over time, this is how we build a solid author career, so that as we release more books, we have a true readership that we can go out to and who will buy our books, review our books, share our books. And that's how we create a really long lasting career as an author. All right. We are wrapping up our time together. I hope that this challenge has been helpful for you. All those replays and all those resources will be right there waiting for you, paperravenbooks.com/nano-resources. And I want to make a final invitation and one more session that I'm going to host Monday of next week. So you may remember that we are enrolling right now for our book coaching and mentorship program. This is the ability for you to work with our team in a deep way for a full year. Writing your book, publishing your book, launching your book. Our team is right there with you to help you set all of these foundations. So if you're interested in that, go to, in fact, probably the easiest thing to do is go to paperravenbooks.com/go. And there you will see the ability to submit your application so that you can chat with me on the phone. We do have a nonfiction program and a fiction program. I'm assuming that we're looking at fiction because we've been here for the NaNoWriMo prep. There's a whole, I'm walking you through the program in this video, but you can also see all the deliverables around the manuscript, working with our book coaching team on the manuscript, the book, working with our production team on your book, and the plan, working with our marketing team on your plan, and all the different deliverables there. And some bonuses that we have going on right now: the Get Paid to Publish workshop, the personalized market opportunities roadmap. So yes, Sue, that's why we'll be helping you with book awards and all those different things. And the best-selling series Fast Track. So if you're thinking about a series, this is how we can help you to plan out that full series. And this is one payment of $9,500, or we can do payment plans if that would be helpful. And we want everyone to apply just to make sure that we are a great fit. So it's really important to us. We're a small team. We're working directly, with you. You're in our group of authors for a year. We want to make sure that we're all a really good fit together. We have a bunch of questions answered that we typically get around this program. And so hopefully that could be helpful. And I would encourage you to go ahead and apply today. I've got a few more slots open in my calendar for next week, and we're going to be wrapping up enrollment, fairly quickly. I will say, for anyone who just wants to talk to me about it, ask questions and just get to hear me talk about it a little bit more, I am hosting a session. You'll see. What's the best way to show this to you? I can just do my calendar, although my calendar always looks crazy. It's going to be Monday. Let me see if I can zoom in. Can I zoom in? Can I just look at a day? Yeah, here we go. It's going to be Monday, October 23rd at 4 p.m. Central. So that's going to be 2 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Mountain, 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern. And we'll just hop on Zoom. We'll do it. I think I'm going to convert it to a meeting so that we can all, if you want to unmute, turn on your video, that sort of thing, and want to talk about the book coaching and mentorship and whether it's right for you, I'll just host an open Q&A session. And if you're comfortable sort of chatting as a group, then I'm happy to talk with y'all more about it as a group. If you'd like to talk to me one-on-one, really the best thing to do is to go ahead and apply paperravenbooks.com/go. And then that way we can set up a private time. We can talk through your application, your situation, and make sure it's a great fit. But if you just have some different questions and want to come on Monday to get those questions answered, that is something that I'm going to be hosting on Monday. So I'll send out an email with the invitation for that. And I hope that this has been helpful. I hope that our 2 weeks together has given you some new insights to the writing process, the publishing process, the marketing process. And I would love to stay plugged in. You know, if you're applying to work with us in book coaching and mentorship, of course, super excited to talk to you about that. If you don't think that's a fit for you right now, I would still love to know how the writing process goes for you. Keep me posted on Nano and let us know your wins. And if you finish writing the first chapter of your novel, we would definitely love to cheer you on and celebrate that with you. My deepest hope is that I hope that we are helping to give you the resources you need to do that crazy thing that maybe no one else understands why you'd want to write a book, publish a book, launch a book, become an author. We get it. We get it. And we support you. We applaud you. We're cheering you on. And we hope that we can provide resources for you to do just that. And, a bit of a community to get to know other folks who are like you too. So I'm so glad that y'all have been here with me, and you're so welcome. And I hope y'all have a great rest of your Friday, and we will see you next time. All righty. Bye, everybody.